Pemma, it is so nice to have you on the podcast today. Thank you for joining me
Thank you for having me.
all the way from Washington, D.C. It's very exciting. So, I want to start us off with just like what captures your attention, whether it's something you're reading or watching or listening to. What do you tend to get engrossed by?
So, right now, I'm currently reading this book, The Loneliness of Sonia and Sunny. It's by Kieran Desai. And I'm watching this short horror TV show. Something very bad is going to happen on Netflix. I love a little horror show to end my night. I've also been listening to a few podcasts lately. I'm listening to this podcast called Pretty Lonesome. And then whenever I'm feeling like, okay, I need some motivation, I listen to Diary of a CEO. But the thing that's capturing my attention the most is what I'm reading. And it's just like the author, she describes feeling lonely and liminality or like this complicated mess of being like dual or triple cultured that I know all too well, but kind of struggle
Yeah.
to describe every now and then. Like when people are like, what does it feel like? I'm like, I don't know. But this book captures it so well. So it's really been like every night I'm like, I can't wait to get in bed and read my book.
I love that. I'm gonna check it out. When I moved to America, I decided to make my own flag and my
Hmm.
own country that I imagined was like halfway in the Atlantic because
Yeah.
and I called it Inglusa and made like my own flag because there was that feeling of like if I don't really belong fully to one, do I belong
Hmm.
anywhere? And I was like, no,
Yeah.
I'm gonna make my own little imaginary place so I feel grounded in like this is a thing. Um,
Yeah.
and there are others out there that belong to this space too. I just haven't met them
Hmm.
yet.
Yeah.
It's really grounding. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, it can be like, yeah, loneliness, not always in a bad way either, but
Yeah, and it's like being and the characters in this book, there are these two main characters are from India and then they moved to the US and they haven't met yet or at least they haven't really met, but it's kind of them going through college and then trying to figure out their visa and trying to figure out how to stay. And it's like, oh, I feel that struggle. I'm in that struggle.
yeah.
Yeah.
When you need a little blast of joy or peace or grounding or whatever you feel drawn to, is there some activity that you do or some practice you engage in?
When I'm in need of grounding, I I have this little coloring book, and I've really been into coloring books lately because I feel like I'm always on my phone, and every time I'm stressed, I go on my phone and I'm mindlessly scrolling through like 30 TikToks, and I can't remember the last one I just watched because I've already gotten to the next one and the next one. So I've just been coloring, and I like try to turn off like all my music and everything, and I just sit down and I start my coloring journey. That's just puts
Yeah.
me in a very calm space.
Yeah, I feel that. I just have like sheets and sheets of just like make a pattern, color it in.
Mhm.
And it yeah, it really focuses your mind and puts you at a different speed
Yeah.
than a lot of the other activities we do for work or even for
Mhm.
fun. I think that's such a great idea. I think
Yeah.
yeah, adult coloring is so underrated.
It really is.
Yeah.
I love a good activity and a coloring book.
Yeah. Yeah, because you really can't skip through it.
Yeah, and no matter how slow you go, how fast you go, you gotta fill that box.
Do you stay within the lines or do you start going outside of them?
I'm very type A in that ways. I stay right inside that line. I'll do a little shading in there. I'll put shapes inside there, but all within that little line.
That is so cool. I also experience that, and every now and again, I'll be like, "Just do it. Just mess it up on
I know.
purpose." And, like, teach your brain it's okay to do that. I'm doing, like, exposure therapy through art because that feels safer somehow.
Yep. I've been doing is like I'm gonna color the sun brown or blue. The sun isn't blue, but it is in this little coloring book of mine. And I'm like, she's going to be what color am I gonna paint my character here? I'm like, she's going to be and I pick up the most random colors. I'm like, yes, I'm gonna
Purple
make her
person.
violet. Yeah. Like this indigo lady.
Right? I love that. Yeah, so we both do a little exposure therapy in our art
Yes.
just to break the, like, the need for order,
Yes.
righteousness. So
Mhm.
you shared with me before we hopped on here that you are working for the Bhutan Foundation. Tell me a little bit more about what that organization does.
Yeah. So the Bhutan Foundation, we work with We're a 501(c)(3) here in the US, and we've been around for the past 40 years. So it's our 40th anniversary this year. And we work with all our communities are in Bhutan. What we do here in the US is more raise awareness of what's going on in Bhutan. We do a lot of work in climate change in Bhutan, and there's a lot that can be learned from the country in terms of conservation, but there's so much that we can learn from the Western world as well. So taking in specialists and professionals in different fields and taking them to Bhutan to do capacity building in Bhutan. So kind of building bridges between Bhutan and the rest of the world. And we do a lot of fundraising here for projects in Bhutan that are based on the 4 pillars of gross national happiness. So we work in sustainable development, cultural preservation, good governance, because Bhutan's a new democracy. Yeah, just working with communities in Bhutan to make some good change in the world.
That's beautiful. And you spoke of liminality or liminal spaces, and that sounds also like a liminal space where you said building bridges, but you're
Yeah.
taking some of the good things from the West and some of the good things from Bhutan and like passing
Mhm.
them back and forth. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Out of personal curiosity, when did Bhutan get start as a democracy? You said it was new?
2008.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. I
Okay.
was introduced by the king because he was like, the monarchy can't have absolute power. One day there's going to be somebody who might not be a good king, and you're going to have to be able to overthrow him. So let's have a democracy. And we had a democracy then. And nobody wanted it because we love our kings. We've been so blessed with good leadership, but you never know, right?
So, as someone who works in philanthropy, I'd be really curious to hear where that interest first began, even how you stumbled across this idea. Where did the early sparks start for you?
Yeah, I think for anybody working in development and philanthropy, you really just have to be a people person. I feel like it's one of the jobs that can't really be replaced by AI because you need to go talk to your donors, sit down with them, and make them like you. Because if they like you, then they like your cause. And that started pretty early on in my life, I'd say. I've always been a very convincing person. If I want something, I will sit down and tell people I want this because XYZ, these are the reasons, and you need to support me. And if you don't, it's going to be your loss. That's how I've kind of grown up. And I grew up in a pretty big family. I have 2 brothers, but then I grew up with all my cousins, aunts, my uncles. So you had to kind of advocate for yourself in the family. So that started early on in life. And then I went to Taktse. And when I went to Taktse, my mentor, principal, he was like, we should have a basketball tournament. Cause I was like, there's so many basketball tournaments for boys. I kind of want to do one for the girls because we always get left out and the prize money is always less or even half of what the boys get. So I really want to do a basketball tournament. And I think I was in 10th grade. I was 15.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he was like, you know what? Let's do it. So we kind of sat down and brainstormed what we wanted this basketball tournament to look like. And we're like, we're going to call it the Taxi Spontaneous event because it was spontaneous. And we brainstormed. I was like, okay, I'm going to take charge of this and I'm going to give everybody a task. But then I was like, we need money for this. And the school's not going to give us money for this. And there was a really rich lady that everybody knew she was very rich. She was one of the parents and they owned one of the only 5-star hotels at that time in Sikkim. So one day I went up to her and I was like, hey, we're having this basketball tournament and, we'd love to spotlight your hotel as a sponsor. If you'd be interested, this is our budget. Can you help us out? She was like, sure. And she gave us the money. So that was my first fundraiser. Yeah.
10th grade. There's a lot. Where do you think that well, you mentioned like you had to advocate for yourself in a large family. Would you attribute that sort of like the bravery that you exhibited by just asking for what you needed there, or are there other things that you think contributed to that? I mean, it's ultimately a skill set.
I think it's a mix of everything. It's my mom. My mom is very fearless in what she needs and what she wants. And she kind of just goes for it because she said, what's the worst thing that's going to happen? No one's going to die and you're going to be fine. So just ask. So I've kind of just gone ahead and just asked for what I want and what I need. And being in Taxi, I think that just really taught me you can ask for what you want and need, but you also need to have reasons why people need to listen to you. Nobody's going to help you just because it's going to help you. People, end of the day, we're all self-serving individuals. Somebody's going to want something back also at some point. So kind of think of how can somebody help you, but how can you help them and make it a win-win situation? I think I just kind of grew up with that mindset.
It's really healthy and honest, right?
Yeah.
I think it is true. I mean, but there's beauty too in like the win-win or the like
Mm,
the trade where the trade is on like actual value for the
mhm.
individuals as opposed to an arbitrary currency. Very talented. It really is a skill that I think a lot of people don't have. So, what did you need to study anything or did you end up studying other things and then getting drawn into the world? What sort of got you into the world?
Yeah. I've always found it really cringe when people say, "Well, I just stumbled into this job." When people say, "I never really this isn't what I studied, I just fell into it." But I really kind of just fell into it too. I studied international relations in school because I was so passionate about climate justice and atrocities, genocide. I was so passionate about that in school. And I wanted to work in the United Nations or I wanted to work with refugees. And I did take courses on how to represent asylum seekers while I was in college. And I interned with a few places that resettled refugees. But at some point, that felt so big. And I felt like I'm never making a single difference. And it really just overwhelmed me, to be honest. And then I was like, okay, maybe I want to work in development, international development. So then I was like, okay, international relations is still the course to go. Let's go ahead with it. And then as I was entering my senior year, I was just so discouraged by the world. And I just was like, there's just so much going on. I'm never going to be able to make a difference. Doom, doom, doom. Still, I was like, I need a job because I need a visa. So I'm on LinkedIn every day. I applied to 400 jobs and I heard back from maybe 40.
Yeah.
And out of 40, maybe like 35 were rejections. And I was so stressed. I was like, oh my God, I'm going on a tangent. I was like, oh
No,
my
it's
God,
okay.
I don't know, like I'm going to be a failure. All this time that I spent here, it's all going to go to waste. But finally, I applied for this development job at this environmental nonprofit. And that's when I learned that development was fundraising. I was thinking international development, but I fell into a development role. And that's when I was like, oh my God, development means fundraising.
Okay,
And
well,
I don't
I'm
know.
today's years old when I found that out. So this is
Yeah.
fascinating.
Yeah. So when I first joined, it was development associate. So I was like, oh, this environmental nonprofit in Boston is hiring a development associate. Maybe I'm going to sit there and work in development. And then I wrote a cover letter about how I'm so passionate about the environment and the world and I want to help people. Nothing about fundraising. But I got the job because again, I was called in for the interview and I think it just
Yeah.
went really well because I really think I'm a people person and I
Yeah.
just get along with people really well. So
Yeah.
the interview went really well. The first interview, then the executive director wanted to meet me and then we had our interview. I got the job and I was like, oh my God, I'm a fundraiser. Who knew?
You also were like, I could probably do this.
Yeah. And the
Because
interview,
of
she's like,
those people skills. Yeah.
exactly. And she's like, what's your fundraising experience? And then I told her about my high school basketball
Basketball.
tournament. Yeah. So then that's how I got immersed in that world.
That's great street cred for fundraising. Seriously. And you
Yeah,
did it at 15. So,
exactly. So
yeah,
I can obviously do it at what
obviously.
at 23.
So, your story sounds, I think, so interesting in that it doesn't sound like a linear pathway, but international
Mhm.
relations to the work you're doing now does actually still feel quite connected.
Yeah.
Were there moments in your life? I know the basketball event was probably a pretty pivotal in your life. Are
Mhm.
there other pivotal moments you can recall that are really part of the development and like where you are now? Your development, sorry, not.
I know so many three developments in one
Mm,
conversation.
mm,
Yeah, I definitely say so. Moved to Australia with my mom when I was 6, I think, and I lived there for 2 years.
cool.
And that's when I had my first big culture shock. And then I was like, what is this place? You don't call your teachers Miss, Madam, thing. You just call them by their names. I was like,
Yeah.
so taken aback. Just the culture of Australia, everything was so different. Everything was so new. Trains, just so much happening at once. And then when I came back to Bhutan, my second culture shock is
Yep.
that now I was so adapted to Australia. I had an Aussie accent. I forgot my language completely.
Yeah.
I had to learn it from scratch and adapt to that again. And then switching schools after living with my cousins, my uncles, my aunts, my grandmother, and then moving schools and then kind of really being embedded in Bhutan, our culture, just being a kid in Bhutan, going to school in Bhutan, and then being taken out of that and then being sent to boarding school in Sikkim, having to adapt to a completely new culture there. And then again, Taxi is such a different culture. It's not east, it's not west. It's like a very hybrid mix. It's giving if you know, you know kind of culture, right? So kind of immersing yourself in that and then being in that Taxi bubble. And Taxi is a bubble. We're so protected from so many everything, kind of exposed to America, the West in general, kind of taught to kind of hold on to your culture value, but also speak up when you need to, but then don't offend older people. But then it's okay to be a little offensive sometimes, but then you have to, you know,
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
politically correct.
Yeah.
Being there and then coming back to Bhutan for a gap year and culture shock, being in that taxi bubble and now coming back, not having a plan, not knowing if you want to go to college, figuring that out. And coming to Endicott, which is like 95% white. And I was like, what am I doing here? I actually hate it here. There's only white people everywhere. And I feel so uncomfortable because it's so hard to make friends here. So it was like, I think all of those points of my life have just shaped me to become this, yeah, like whatever. If it happens, it happens kind of person. Like, I'll be fine, you know, send me to a city and I'll be fine.
Yeah. And I'm
Yeah.
curious, like, what you see about yourself that because of such a wide, varied the amount of culture shocks that you've learned. Are you familiar with the W curve theory
Mhm.
of culture shock?
Yeah. It's like the honeymoon. You're like, oh,
Yeah.
I hate it
And then the
here.
readjustment, and then you're
Yeah.
like, now home feels alien when I
Yeah.
and there's so I think about my life as like not really a W, but like all the W's joined
Yeah.
together. Like that.
It's like a
But
heart rate monitor.
but, like, there's real benefits to that in some ways, like I said about, like can you identify what you feel like has shaped your mind and, like, built skills in you from having so much experience like that?
I think again, it's just a that asking for help. Just ask people for help. Like say, hey, I really don't know how to do this. I'm new to this. Can you please help me? And it took a lot for me to ask people for help because I was like, no, I have to do it myself. I'm smart. I'm educated.
Yeah.
I have exposure. And then being like, you know what? No, like I don't know anything. So I think just accepting that when you move to a new place, you know literally nothing, but it's fine because somebody else also just moved here and they don't know anything. But somebody who's lived here for the last 20 years of their life, they also know nothing. It's like, it's all of our first time living. So just being able to ask for help because A, nobody knows. And then another thing is just being so adaptive. I wouldn't have become this adaptive at making new friends, being able to pack everything in like 2 or 3 suitcases, just letting go of things, like throwing things out because you
Mhm.
can't take everything, you know? And figuring out things like insurance, like I was saying, that time, health insurance, retirement, just trying to figure all of that out. Yeah, I think that's my
Yeah.
biggest, yeah.
Yeah. I think I would put adaptability at the top, which I have a feeling because I do really like I can't tell if I always really liked predictable patterns or whether I began to really like predictable patterns because things were so unstable. It's very chicken and
Yeah.
egg. I don't know what order that goes in. But I do
Yeah.
know that I would be much more rigid in my
Mhm.
thinking if I hadn't been whiplashed so many times where I
Yeah.
just had to go with the flow, even if that wasn't my instinct.
Exactly. I guess one of the bad things is that 2 bad things is, like, it's made me really think about money more carefully in my life
Mm.
because 'cause I've realized, like, when you move so much, if you have some more money, it just makes everything easier. Like, pay for that extra bag so you can take more of your things with you. So it's made me think about money a lot more and, like, be more worried about money, but also just think about ways to save money, invest money. So I guess it's good, but it's also made me really materialistic in a way. And then the other thing is like, I'm like, you know what? If things really don't work, I can just leave. I can get up and leave this place and go somewhere else and I'll be just fine. And it's like, am I running away from my problems or am I just seeing that there's more options in life?
I love what you
Yeah.
said earlier about, like, it's all our first time, our first life here. I mean, as far as we can consciously be aware of, I
Mhm.
don't wanna get into the
Like
beliefs or
maybe I've been here for like 10 lifetimes. I don't remember it,
you're
but this is
just
my first time here.
but, like, as far as our memories are concerned, it is
Yeah.
our first life and approaching it with that novice mind takes a little humility and some confidence. I feel like the older I get, the more confident I feel like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know things. I used to know
Yeah.
things, but I don't know them. I don't know things anymore.
That's how I feel. I was literally writing in my journal. I was like, the older I get, the less I know. And every year I know less and less and less.
Yeah, it's so
Mm.
true. And my work with students, I used to go in being like, I got these plans, I got like pages of
Yeah.
plans. And now I like do that deep thinking and then I push it all to the side and just go
Yeah.
blank slate. Like, you tell me, what are we doing here? Just such a different approach. What relationships in your life, communities, cultures do you feel like have shaped you? Are you interested in sharing more about what shaped your perspective?
The strongest relationship I have right now, or have always had, is my mom. I find her like very different compared to a lot of Asian parents that I've seen growing up. Everyone kind of grew up with strict parents, and my mom was really strict growing up too. Like I had to get good grades all the time, and I had a curfew and everything. But the older I got, my mom just became this person that I could go to with anything. She was like, you can go clubbing. Well, as soon as I turned 18, she's like, you can go clubbing. I just need to know where you're going, who you're going with, because if something does happen, I can come and find you. Like if you're knocked out in a parking lot and everyone's left you, I know that you're at that parking lot. I can pick you up and bring you back home. And she's created such a safe space for me to basically tell her anything. And the best thing about her is she always lets me vent. She's like, you know what? Just get it all out. Tell me how you're feeling, and then we'll kind of solve it. And it's always been like there's nothing you can't solve, and we'll just figure it out. And worst case scenario, you can come back home. And she's like, even if you're a bum on the couch at home, you're still at home with us, and that's okay. So I have so much I can do anything that I want because I know that I have this safety net. And it's like I am so privileged to be like, I will never go broke, I'll never go hungry because I have this amazing mom and dad. That's going to be that safety net. Made it clear that they don't have any expectations from me. Like we want you to succeed, but if you feel like you don't want to succeed sometimes and you just want to like, rot, like you can always come and rot with us, you know?
That's so sweet and so comforting. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm very lucky. So that's the one of my strongest relationships. I love my mom. She's such a cutie. And she's also so stylish and fashionable. And that's created a shopaholic in me. And I'm always like, I want to buy new clothes. I want to be trendy. I want to be fun, funky.
This is so cool. Has your mom, come to visit you in Washington?
No, my mom's never been to the US because the visa restrictions are so tight. So she hasn't been able to come to the US yet. Maybe one day, but we always talk about wanting to go to Greece together because my mom's big into Greek mythology. She's
Me
big into Greek
too.
mythology and Indian history.
Mm.
And we've done a lot of India, so we definitely want to explore Greece with her.
It would be amazing.
Yeah.
And, like, you really can go see, like, temples to Athena and
Yeah.
this
And
ancientness.
yeah. So I definitely say my mom. And then in terms of non-family relationships, when I went to Taktse, I really built a good relationship with my principal, who then became my mentor. And up until now, I feel like I've been able to go to him with anything as well, get advice. And he's somebody that I actually trust with advice. So I kind of just go to him and I'm like, help me. Or I'm like, help me think this through. And it's like he never really gives me answers to anything. At the end, I just have to come up with my own answers. But it's nice to have somebody to think it through with.
Like a thought partner? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So it's been him and of course my friends. I'm a big person on like female friendships and just having a group of close girlfriends who are just kind of watch you go through life and you watch them go through life and then you have this collective shared trauma of all the things that you've been through together, but then you also have collective wisdom as a group. And sometimes it's just really wisdom that you picked up off of some stupid TikTok. But in that moment, it really makes sense. Like when you're sitting with your girlfriends and you're crafting your breakup message to somebody and you think like, wow, I really ate with these sentences and these phrases. And then you look back together a few years later and you're like, what were we on? But in that moment, it felt good.
It felt good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I love the idea of female friendships and I love all my girlfriends so much. I think just like because the one thing I love about my friends is they will give me a reality check. I
Right.
say something really stupid, my friend will sit down and she'll be like, I'm gonna hold your hand when I tell you this. Like if I'm seeing a really, really shitty guy and I'm like, but when it's good, it's so good. She's like, I'm gonna hold your hand when I tell you this. this man does not love you. He is just using you. And I'm like, I needed to hear that, you know?
Yeah, but you need to hear it, like, from someone you trust, respect, and you
Yeah.
know loves you and is saying it
Yeah.
from love and not
And it's
from
not an adult. It's not my mom. It has
oh,
to come
right.
from
Oh,
them.
yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Is yeah, shout out women and, like, how much we need each other in this world
Yeah.
too,
Oh, I've gone to my friends through the worst times, and it's been on FaceTime because it's different parts of
all
the
over.
world. Yeah, and I'll sit down and then I have these 2 friends that we always get on this video call, and that time one of them was in Tokyo, one was in London, and I was in Boston. And we were like we shared a therapist, the 3 of us, and we were like, the stories this man could write about us, because we were all depressed at that point. We were so confused about what to do with our lives. We were all in these toxic, shitty, not even relationships, but situationships. I'm like, guys, the only reason we're getting through all of this is because we're on the phone every single night talking to each other and knocking sense and giving advice to each other that we're not taking. But I can give the 2 of them advice, and then one of them can give the other 2 of us advice.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
this endless loop of advice.
I love women. Let me ask you, is there, I mean, because you've have had so much exposure to different cultures and like
Mhm.
adjusting to different spaces, but are there some things that you've learned, especially like looking at it through the lens of the philanthropic communities that you're involved in now, things that you thought were true about the way the world works that have really changed as you've gotten to know the world more? Any insights or wisdom that you have to share there from your life's experiences?
Think philanthropy is very new to me because growing up, a lot of charitable donations in my culture were always made to religious causes, the Buddhist monasteries and sponsoring monks or paying for rituals. So it was always very religious. Philanthropy had a very, very religious connotation in my life, I'd say. And then I've never really heard of, even in Europe, I feel like philanthropy's still not gotten that big as it has in America. And I think it's such a complicated topic, honestly, because it's like people are being philanthropic because A, it's a tax write-off. So there's good systems built in place to be philanthropic. And it's a great way to get a tax write-off. Like you're doing great work still.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot that we can learn about philanthropy from America. If there's one thing we can learn from America, it's how to do philanthropy right.
To reward people for yeah,
Yes.
philanthropy, yeah. Because we don't have
Yeah.
the social safety nets, so
Yeah.
there's more room, I think, for that work too, maybe?
If we made it more fun and if we really try to talk to more people and talk to these wealthy people, try to really get into their minds and think of what they really, really care about. And I'm sure like no matter how shitty a person is, there's something they care about. If we're just able to kind of crack that nut and see what they care about, I feel like we could get a lot more money out in the philanthropic world.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah.
I think it's complicated, but I enjoy what I do.
Yeah. But there's also, like, when you said, like, it feels there's nothing wrong with feeling good if it's helping other people,
Mhm.
to a degree. I think that is, like, maybe that's the starting place, and then from
Yeah.
there, other changes come. You can make small little tweaks that have these huge ripple
Mhm.
effects down the road, you know?
Yeah. Like, it's just sometimes the skeptic in me that gets to me. There's like the very optimistic side of me most days, and then the skeptic in me is like, are we actually just protecting these institutions that keep wealthy people wealthy?
I don't think there's a system that doesn't have sort of those toxic elements to it. What do you find most interesting, energizing, and meaningful about your work? What do you love about it?
I think I derive joy from being with people and interacting with people and being in social settings. So the thing that I love about my job is that I get to meet so many people all the time and I go to all these events and I'm like talking to people and I'm meeting new people and I'm making new friends. And I feel like I'm really winning in life when I'm meeting people and making friends. I'm like, whoa, this is so fun. And I'm just entering so many different worlds. It's like things that I never would have thought possible growing up because like I've never been exposed to that much wealth, you know? My parents are very humble, like middle class, maybe
Mhm.
like low upper middle class, so I don't come from so much money or anything. So just seeing like, oh my God, horizons broadened. Mind like, whoa, there's so much money in the world. What the hell? And then I just love seeing like the impacts that we make. It's like here I could raise just $10,000 and then that goes such a long way in supporting farmers, supporting children with special needs, like just building a special needs classroom. So yeah, I just think it's so rewarding. It's rewarding work that I do.
Yeah. So into like the future of philanthropy and all of the things that you're involved in, what are you most intrigued by? What are you sort of hoping to get into more as you look to your future?
Now, some things that I look forward to is I really want to do more with social media. I feel like I spend so much time consuming content, but I want to create more content myself. Like
Yeah.
instead of just listening to other people talk, I want to talk too, you know?
Yeah.
I might not have the most, like the smartest things to say or the most insightful things to say, but I feel like I want to put myself out there more. I really enjoy doing it and I want to focus on what I enjoy doing as well, not just thinking about what's going to be good for my career and all of that, just have an outlet. So I enjoy doing that, putting stuff out there. I am
What's
also,
your
yeah.
what's your handle or username?
My handle on TikTok is, oh my God, it used to be my name, but then I changed it because at one point I was starting to feel a little insecure about it. And I didn't want everybody to find it. But now I'm like, you know what? Whatever. It's P PLHZNNN. So Pemma Lhazin, but I shortened it as a short username.
Yeah, that's so cool that you are finding a way in that space to like find new pathways and figure out like different ways to connect with people.
Yeah, I really like it. And I always being away from home, and there's so many Bhutanese people who are also away from home, are living in America, Australia. And every now and then I'm like, oh my God, guys, do you remember like 10 years ago we used to eat this really weird snack? And everyone's like, oh my God, yes, I remember. So it's like kind of connecting with this community who lives away from home and are going
Yeah.
through the same things.
Yeah.
But then every now and then I'll be like, guys, this is what I'm wearing today and this is what I'm doing. And it's a way to like romanticize my own life as well. It's not that I'm just trying to show other people like this is my life, it's so good, but it's for me to also be like, hey, like actually my life is not bad. It's really fun every now and then.
Yeah.
It helps
Yeah.
appreciate my own life as well. So
I think that it's important the way that we conceive of our lives that we find meaning in it. And I could
mhm.
imagine some of that, especially just posting more just everyday stuff about yourself, helps shape a narrative, like a meaningful narrative. I mean that. Like,
Yeah.
I think that's psychologically really can be really healthy as well. I think
Yeah.
we all talk a lot about like, oh no, like it's not all authentic. Okay, a lot of things we do out in the world isn't like our naked selves.
Exactly.
We rarely function like that in the world. Yeah.
Exactly. We're all performing for somebody else's gaze a lot of the time.
Or ourselves of like, this
Yeah.
is, I want to be the person who acts this way. And so we
Yeah.
morph into it. And I count that as authentic. You're choosing something.
Exactly.
Do you have a sense of like what you hope to be doing in the future? Or are you feeling things out and seeing, more how things go?
I'm in the middle of it. I'm trying to feel things out and see where it goes, but I also like to have somewhat of a plan. I definitely want to go back to school. I have been considering getting like an MBA or some business degree just because I have never really been like such a numbers, like quantitative person, but I do want to kind of shift my brain into thinking more strategically too. And I think that will kind of help with like routine strategy and also just to meet a new group of people with my life's networks, explore different career
Yeah.
trajectory. I feel like right now, I'm in the nonprofit sector. I kind of want to pivot into maybe like a corporate sector, but doing good in a corporate sector, like
Oh, yeah.
corporate
Yeah.
social responsibility or something, where then I'm a part of a really bad company that does good work sometimes, you know, or like kind of helping companies see where they can make a better impact. That's kind of where I want to be in life. And then I want to retire and just go on a farm and have people help me raise the chickens and all of that because I don't want to do all the physical work myself, but I want to have the idea. I hate doing manual labor. So being wealthy enough to hire people to do them.
A bougie farm. I love this.
Yeah,
Um,
bougie farm. Like I really want a family though. Like I love kids. One of my life's goals is to open a daycare. Like I just love children. So I've really considered, even if not an MBA, getting a degree in like a master's degree in early childhood education and just working with little kids 'cause I love
they're the
kids.
best. Mhm.
Yeah, and it's like you have the ability to shape somebody in a way to make them like a kind, good person. It sounds like brainwashing, but I just want people, I don't know. Like you can introduce them to like books, you can introduce them to art, and there's so much good things that you can introduce to children at a young age and kind of expose them. You can teach them different languages, like just open up their mind at such a young age. And
Yeah.
the ability to do that is so cool for me. So I would love to have a daycare, but I also really, really, really see myself being a mother at some point in my life. I don't know when, how.
That's a
I think
beautiful
it'd be
dream.
fun.
I love kids too. I started with the little ones, like preschool
Yeah.
and then elementary for some time and then middle. And then like as I aged, I work primarily now with like
Mhm.
late high school, college, and then adults. And also I don't have like the same energy to run after kids, which is required that I had in my 20s. But yeah, my favorite people I wouldn't call it brainwashing, I call it brain training, mind development. But that's like that little, because I can think back to teachers when I was little, the ones who like
Yeah.
said a kind thing or like saw me in some way, and that I don't have a way to measure how much impact they had. I just know that it's massive. That one kind thought or that good relationship or that mentorship.
Mhm.
So, yeah, a space to like so much good in the world is with kids. And it's really like fills your heart, fills your soul. It nourishes. Yeah, that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. Beautiful. Well, last question I want to ask you would be if there was somebody who was thinking about getting involved in philanthropic work, or the language you started off sharing with us was when you stumbled across that job posting of like development in
Yeah.
something. If someone was sort of curious about that, is there any advice you would give them about how to start learning more about it or even how to get more involved?
I think with philanthropy, it's like really know your cause and know what
Okay.
you're selling. It's kind of like sales in a way. Like you need to
Mhm.
know the ins and outs. People are going to ask you questions. Money is something that's really important to people. And if they're trusting you with their money, you want to help reassure that their money is going to the right place, that their money is going to a cause that they care about. So just being able to frame it in that ways and respecting the cause that you do, I think is very important. And just making sure that you're not selling, like if you're working with underprivileged communities, to make sure that you're not just like selling, having that boundary that you're not selling somebody's like challenges just to be better at your job in a way. I think with like fundraising, like, it's easy to put pictures of people who are struggling and sell that. If you see a picture of a starving child, of course you're gonna want to give, but it's like, do you have consent of that starving child? Like
Oh,
things like that. I think it's just to kind of learn people's boundaries and just respect
be
not just
respectful.
your donors, but respect the communities that you work with as well.
Mhm. Yep.
Because we always think about our donors, our donors, our donors, but you need to also respect the community that you're actually raising money for. Because sometimes you kind of forget. You just think of the big picture budget in your mind, and you sometimes forget. So keep bringing yourself back to the cause and the communities that you work with.
Yeah, that sounds very grounding so you don't get
Mhm.
too lost. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great advice. Are there organizations that you want to shout out that I could put in the show notes so we can promote them and folks who are listening could check them out a little bit more?
Yeah. I would say definitely the Bhutan Foundation. We do a lot of good work in Bhutan. I know that Taktse, you can give to Taktse through the Marion Institute. So it's a great school in the Himalayas trying to do really good work. Make sure kids are learning in creative ways, reading, just exposed to all the good things they should be exposed to. And just getting a really well-rounded education. So I'd say Bhutan Foundation, Taxi, and kind of thing. Honestly, even just look at your nonprofits in your own local areas. Just give back to your own community. I think that's important. Don't try looking for causes that are so far away from you. Try to see if you can make an impact in your own local community.
That's great advice. Do you see that people tend to forget that and look far away? Like,
Yeah, I think so. I think sometimes people see like we're fed a lot of like there's so much news about certain places in the world, and then you kind of just focus only on that, and then you forget that there's actually people,
in
homeless
your
people in your
neighborhood.
own neighborhood, people who aren't able to feed their own kids or their families. So And I just look at the bigger picture if you can. But then if you're thinking of small ways to help, then see what you can do in your own neighborhood, in your own family, you know?
That's really good advice. It was so lovely to chat with you,
Thank you.
and thank you so
It's like
much for
catching up with a friend.
It was really
Yeah.
fun. And I'm so excited about everything that you're doing and so excited about what you will do.
Thank
I feel like there's lots of uh, more like pivotal moments and like really interesting things that you might get involved with, especially if you're thinking
you.
about like going into different domains and going back to school.
Yeah.
So thank you for being on here today.
Thank you.
If you've enjoyed today's discussion, I invite you to share this episode and subscribe to Able Pathways podcast on your favorite platform. Your support helps us to share these meaningful conversations with more people. Have thoughts about this episode or suggestions for future guests? We would love to hear from you. Leave us a comment or email us at hello@ablepathways.com. Until next time, I'm Annabelle, reminding you that there are infinite pathways to growth. May you travel yours with curiosity and courage.